You started Oak Ridge after you moved to South Carolina. You went into the caretaking business. And it's kind of unusual because you really got in on the ground floor of residential care.
When I started Oak Ridge, we had a 17-page rule and regulation guide. Now we have 175 pages. Now you have to have 2 years college. Back then, you didn't even have to have high school. I've only got 9th grade. But we got in touch with a man in Columbia and told him that we had a big house and we wanted to see about taking care of people, because I had an old man come to Oak Ridge and say, "You don't need this big house for yourself." And I said, "Yes, I do. I want to finish raising my children." He said, "No, you need to take care of people." And I said, "I don't want to do that. I've done it all my life." Because I had my great uncle and different people, always somebody staying with us. And so I don't want to do that. And he said, "Well, you're going to." He said, "I'm going to bring you a piece of, a clipping out of the newspaper where they're looking for people to take in people and take care of them." And I said, "I don't want to do it." But he came back the next day with this little clipping out of a newspaper, and he said, "Call this number." And I thought, I'm not doing it. And then he said, "Call the number. I'm going to stand right here till you do." So I did. And Mr. Riker, when I talked to him, he said, "I'll be there tomorrow morning, have the coffee pot on." And that's how I got started with Oak Ridge. We started out with 8 people. About, 3 or 4 months later? It wasn't long. And now I have 48 and two places and 14 employees. And
you've been in business?
I've been in business since 1981. June of 1981.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've had over 1,000 people go through Oak Ridge during that time. Yeah. And it's been a blessing to them, and it's been a blessing to our family. And it's funny how God worked it around to bring me where I was at. Yeah.
I know that you encountered with the neighborhood some, opposition. So let's talk about the opposition that you
Well, the
faced.
way I first got the idea to do it, I had a man come in to redo my fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, "You need to take care of people in this house. You don't need to have this big a house just for your family. And there's a real need out there for people to open homes to take care of people." I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
When the neighborhood found out that I might be doing that, the man at the store got up a petition to keep me from doing it because I was going to take in mental health clients. And in fact, I was licensed by mental health when I originally got licensed. And so I took in 8 people, and I told them, "You cannot go down to the little store because that man doesn't like us, and he's tried to keep us from opening up." Well, this one man was there, and he kept saying, if I could just walk to the store, I promise I won't be there more than 5 minutes, and I'll come straight back, and I won't cause any trouble." And he just kept on and kept on. Finally, I said, "You've got 5 minutes." So he went to the store. Well, he didn't come back, and he didn't come back. And finally, I thought to myself, I have to go down and see what's going on. So I go down there, and here he sits on a stool right next to the cash register, and the man and him are just talking away. And I walked in and I said, "I told you you couldn't come down here and stay down here. You need to go back to Oak Ridge." And he said, "Well, come in here. I want to introduce you. This is my family." So the man that was running the store was related to him, and they were in there visiting. Well, then from then on, that kind of changed his attitude, and the residents were allowed to go down. So
Did the petition go away then?
Then everything went away. From then on, we were accepted. We had no problems. And every time I wanted to increase my license, and we went from 8 to 10, then we went from 10 to 18, and now that same house has got 38 people in it, and we've been there since 1981.
And there's never been an issue.
We have never had an issue with anybody in the community.
Now, that really says to me, Mom, that God has been with Oak Ridge.
He opened Oak Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
He did it, yes. We've had over 1,000 people go through Oak Ridge since 1981.
I know that's a proud thing for you as well.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is. It means a lot.
I know it does.
And there's very few people in Inman that it hasn't touched in some way. Relatives or the business that we do, the people we deal with. It's been a real community thing. Well, now I have the small house here in Inman with 10 people, and that we opened up with no problems whatsoever. It just went through, and I wish it was bigger, as there's such a need for people to come and stay. And I have had some that I've had since 1992.
That are still living
that
there.
are still there.
Mm-hmm. Mom, our book really has been a story about forgiveness and about even you and my relationship. I left home when I was 14 and didn't really come back to you until after high school and college. And even in spite of that time that we were apart and there was really a lot of hard things that we lived, I feel like we were close.
Oh yeah, it's better than it's ever been, but it's been a rough journey up to this point, and part of that come from the choices that I made. And I married a man that was mentally ill, and was abusive, emotionally, physically, and did not treat you children like they should have. And he is mentally ill.
Mm-hmm, I agree with that.
And I stayed in that relationship way too long. But when you are born Amish and in the Mennonite church and whatever, you are raised that divorce is not right, and that it's almost an unforgivable sin. And so, being the first marriage didn't go right, and then the second one, I seen it was going downhill. It just made me that much more I don't know, hard-headed, I guess, to try to stick it out and do the best I could.
It seemed as though you were just hopeful he would do better. He would get better.
But he didn't, and he isn't even till today.
Right.
It's not any better.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we began to really understand that was your take on it, and we had to grieve out what we lost. Don't you agree?
Oh yes, absolutely.
The days and the way things went, we grieved that out, and we started fresh.
Yes, and that's where forgiveness comes in, and you have to be big enough to let a part of you die to forgive, and that's the way that works.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And I think this story has been, the beauty of it is that in spite of all that we lived, we can love each other and be close, and not just me with you, but all of your children.
All of my children, and we've got a good relationship, and it's part of it is because of the rough times.
Yes.
When you can get over that and forgive each other, and I think part of my problem was my children didn't realize that my mother married me off to an old man, 10 years older than I was when I was 15. And then I had those 5 children, and I didn't get to finish high school. I wanted to go to Goldie Beacom College and become a legal secretary. I didn't get to do any of that, but God didn't mean for me to do that. He wanted me where I am at now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you were only 23 with 5 children, and then when you divorced at 29, our father, you had a 16-year-old. That can almost be hard to imagine. You were a young mother.
Yeah, by that time, Rosie was half the age that I was.
Right, at 32.
At 32, yes. And that's tough. But I've got 5 good children. They've got good homes. They're good people. They're raising good children, and I thank God.
Yeah, I know you do. So it is. It's a blessing, yeah, to be on this end. And we hope that this book that we are doing together is just going to be a blessing to everyone, because the life that you've lived has been meaningful. And God has taken what could have destroyed us and made it very good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I prayed for a friend, and God sent me Bill.
Yes. So you know what? Here you are in your 70s, and you think you have the best relationship you've ever had.
Ever had
right?
in my life, yeah.
Yes.
A true, honest friend.
Yes.
Who absolutely cares about everything.
Yeah.
My children, my work.
Yes.
Oh.
You have a good time, too. You laugh
yes,
a lot.
We do.
You laugh a lot.
Yes, we do. And he is as faithful. He comes and calls and is concerned, and me for him the same way. And it's really been a blessing.
Yeah, I think it's neat how God has given you that after 22 years of being single.
Yeah.
We thought after Jack and all the mess that went with that was it for you.
Well, that soured me to the point where I didn't want...
You had been calling, didn't you? But
yeah.
You were like...
No!
So, yeah, and then God blessed you with Bill.
With Bill.
And now, he has been the inspiration for this story.
Yes, he is.
So,
yes, he has.
That's been very good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, thank you for sharing. I hope it's going to bring alive some of the things we've talked about as we've wrote down and worked together to make this a story that others can enjoy.
Right, right. Well, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Believe me. Sometimes I didn't think there was, but it's still come around.
It does.
If you do what's right, God blesses you.
He does.
Yeah. And he sure has.
You know, we're about to get done with our book, and as we move toward publishing and all the things that are going to happen, what is your dream for the book? It's been a long process.
Well, I would hope that it would inspire people that have had it tough and had a rough way, and that they may be encouraged to go on and strive for something that they've dreamed of, because you can do anything. If I could do it, anybody can do it, because let me tell you, I don't think there's very many families that were as poor and backwards as what our family was. But if you've got the determination and the willpower to put in your time and your sweat and tears, you can do anything. And I'm perfect proof of that, because I started when I was almost 30. I'm now 76 years old, and it's been a ride.
Yes,
it's been a good ride.
And you know, when people read the story, they're going to just see how exciting, how hard, the ups and the downs that your life has been, Mom.
It has.
So.
But you can't quit. You have to keep on going.
That's it.
And if you do it in the right spirit, God will bless it.
That's right. Yeah, and I know that to be true of you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen to that still small voice. Yeah, and that's the key to the whole thing.
Thank you so much for just being willing to not just write this down on words, but in your own words, share a little bit of your personality, which is awesome, your spirit, also your faith. So those things, Mom, will make this book alive.
Well, you're sure welcome, and I hope it blesses the people who read it. I really do.
I just really wanted to thank you for taking the time to give us a glimpse of your own personality in the story. We can sit down and write words and read them, but when you say it, it just brings alive who you are. And this has been a very eventful life. I mean, it is, just as Bill said, could anyone have lived all this? And it has been a pleasure for me to be able to sit with you in it. And I know that at times the topics have been tough, but to me it's been worth it, every minute of it.
Well, I just hope that it will encourage somebody to not give up and keep on going, that God has a better plan for you.
Yes, exactly. That if you have passion in your heart and you persevere, it'll happen.
It will. Mm-hmm. Just be determined and keep on going even when it gets tough and you think, I can't do it. You can, and the end results is great. Yeah, it really is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.